Good morning, student. Welcome to the third lecture of unit number 3, that is digital forensic. In the previous lecture, we had discussion on the steps of digital forensic. In that, we have discussed the 5 steps of digital forensic, that is identification, preservation, analysis, documentation, and presentation. After that, we have seen digital forensic process. First one is policy and procedure development. In that, we have discussed the principle of policy and procedure development. The principle is that the primary aim of any digital forensic investigation is to allow others to follow the same procedures and steps and still end with the same result and conclusions. It means that during the investigation, investigators must have to follow the same procedures and steps and still they have to come up with the same results and conclusions. After that, we have seen evidence assessment. The principle of evidence assessment is that all the sources of possible digital evidences should be thoroughly assessed with respect to the scope of the case. After that, we have also discussed some considerations of the evidence assessment. The considerations are like forensic process need to be performed on the evidence. After that, potential evidence being sought, and we have to decide whether if additional information regarding the case is required. For example, email accounts, email addresses, internet service provider names, user names, and log files also. Okay, and other non-computer equipments that might be used in forgery or fraud cases, for example, credit cards, check papers, scanners, and printers. So such type of considerations we have discussed in the previous lecture. After that, third process, that is evidence acquisition. Now the principle behind evidence acquisition is that digital evidence is fragile and can be easily altered, damaged, or destroyed by improper handling or improper examinations. And that's why we have to take special precautions to preserve this type of evidences. This is the principle behind evidence acquisitions. Okay, so also we have discussed some considerations like fully documented the hardware and software configurations of the examiner system, as well as digital device being examined. Also, we have to identify and obtain storage devices required to image. That means examination should not be conducted on original copy. Okay, it should be conducted on secondary copy of the original evidence. Okay, so we have to make bit by bit copy of original evidence. So these are the considerations under evidence acquisitions. Okay, so in the last lecture we had stopped here. Now in the today's lecture we will discuss further procedures, further processes. So the fourth one is evidence examination. Okay. So now what is the principle behind evidence examination? So the principle behind evidence examination is that the same general forensic principles may apply when examining digital evidences as they do to any other crime scene. So, however, different types of cases and different types of media may require different methods of examination, but still we have to apply general forensic principles while doing examination of digital evidences. Okay, and for that examination, we need only trained personnel. Okay, so it means that only trained professionals should conduct an examination of digital evidence. Okay, so it is very important to make a distinction between what is meant by extraction of digital evidence and what is meant by the analysis of evidence. Okay, because evidence examination includes these two steps: extraction of evidence and analysis of evidence. Okay, so what is meant by extraction? Extraction refers to the recovery of data from whatever the media the data is stored on. It means recovery of data from whatever the media. It means it includes your hard disks, data stored on your RAM, data from your SIM card, data from your mobile phone, also your fingerprints, data from your biometrics. Okay, so whatever the media data is stored on, we have to recover that data. Okay, it means that extraction of data. Then the second term is that analysis. So we know that analysis means the interpretation of data. Okay, so now here we are recovering the data. That means here analysis refers to the interpretation of recovered data, and after the interpretation of recovered data, we have to place that data in a logical and useful format. Okay, answering such questions as how did it get there, where did it come from, and what does it mean. It means that how we get this data, on which type of media that data is stored, and how we recover this type of data. We have to answer these all types of questions during analysis of data. Okay, so during evidence examination, what we have to do first? First, we have to recover data from any media which is available to us. After recovering this data, we have to place that data in a logical and useful format, in a understandable format. While answering questions, which type of questions? How did we get that data? Where did we get that data? From where? And what does it mean? Okay, so this is analysis of evidence. Now separating the forensic examination, this helps the examiner in developing procedures and structuring the examination and presentation of digital evidence. Okay, now in this evidence examinations, again there are certain steps like preparation of data, extraction of data. Again there is extraction of data. After that, analysis of data. Okay, likewise. So let's discuss one by one. Now the first step is preparation. Okay, so step one is preparation. During this phase, we have to prepare working directory or directories on separate media to which evidentiary files and data can be recovered and or extracted. Okay, that means first we have to prepare one of the directory or separate media to which evidentiary files and data can be recovered or data can be extracted. And this should be checked to make sure that they are forensically clean, so that investigators can be sure any evidence belong to this case being investigated rather than left over from other cases. Okay, so this is about the preparation. Now the step 2. Step 2 deals with the extraction of data or extraction of evidence. Okay, so this is the actual process of extracting data from digital devices. What is extracting of data? That means recording of data from any media where it is stored on. So this process, this is the actual process of extracting the data from digital devices. So basically there are two types of extraction. First one is physical extraction and second one is logical extraction. Now physical extraction identifies and recovers data across the entire physical drive without regard to file system. Without regard to file system means we know that there is FTS, NTFS file systems. Okay, so without regard to these file systems, in physical extraction, we identify and recover data across the entire physical drive, across the entire hard disk. And the logical extraction means logical extraction identifies and recovers files and data based on the installed operating system, based on the file system and or application. That means during logical extraction, we can identify and recover the data based on which type of operating system you are working on which type of file system you are working and or which application. Okay, this is logical extraction. Now let's see physical extraction and logical extraction in detail. So first one is physical extraction. So in physical extraction, now we know that data is extracted at the physical level without regard to any file system present on the drive, whether it is FTS, uh, whether it is FAT, that is file allocation table, or NTFS. Okay, so now data is extracted at the physical level. Essentially, any image is made. Now we know that investigation is not done on original copy. Okay, we have to make image of that copy. So any image is made during physical extraction, which is subject to some methods like keyword searching, file carving, and partition table. So first one is the first method which is used for the extraction of data at the physical level is keyword searching. So what is keyword searching? Performing a keyword search across the physical drive can be useful as it allows the examiner to discover and extract data that may not be accounted for by the operating system and file system. Now, sometimes when we are not able to find our files where it is stored on our drive, that time what we do? We click on search tab and there we search our some keywords. Okay, and click on enter. So it's going to search that keyword. That means keyword searching. Then second one is file carving. File carving means using file utility programs to scan the physical drive, help to recover and extract usable files and data that may not be accounted for by the operating system and file system. Here we use some file utility programs to scan the physical drive, not keyword searching. And the third one is partition table. Now we know that there are some partition tables. So the particle structure will help to identify file system presence and determine if the entire physical size of the hard drive is accounted for. It means that if the size of your hard disk is 1 terabyte, okay, but partition table only shows 900 GB, 900 gigabytes. 1000 gigabyte means 1 terabyte. Okay, so if your hard disk is 1 terabyte, size of your hard disk is 1 terabyte, and your partition table showing only 900 GB, then where is the missing 100 GB goes? That means your partition table, and this partition table structure help us to identify the file system presence and determine if the entire physical size of the hard drive is accounted for or not. For example, in your mobile phone also, if the size of your internal memory, your RAM is 1 GB, that time it shows only 750 MB or 800 MB. So where that 200 MB goes, that is the partition table. Now second type is logical extraction. This is by mistake. This is logical extraction. Okay, now consider it as logical extraction. So in logical extraction, data is from the drive is based on file system present on the drive. As we already seen that in physical extraction, data is extracted without regard to any file system. But during logical extraction, data is extracted with regard to any file system, operating system, and applications. Okay, so this involve an examination of active files, recovering deleted files, looking at file stack. Now, file stack means unallocated file space. File stack basically means unusual space between files, okay, and unallocated file space. So during logical extraction, we are going to recover or we are going to examine active files. That means your log files, your timestamps, we are going to recover deleted files and file stack. Okay, so there are some steps in logical extraction. First one is extraction of the file system information to reveal characteristics such as directory structure, file attributes, file names, date and timestamps, file size and file location. Okay, so we are going to reveal this type of characteristics. So what is the name of file, which are the attributes of file, date and timestamps, file size and file location. Now second step is that data reduction to identify and eliminate known files through the comparison of calculated hash values to authenticated hash value. So during the second step, we are going to reduce data reduction to identify and eliminate known files. How? Through the comparison of calculated hash value. Okay, now what is hash value? I think you learned in your networking subject that hash value of data is generated, hash code of data is generated, and after that this hash code is appended with the original data, and after that your hash code and your original data both are transmitted over the network, okay, to protect that data. So this is the hash values. Then third step is that extraction of files pertinent to the examinations. Methods to accomplish this may be based on file names and extension, file header, file content and location on the drive. Then recovery of deleted files. This is also another step, recovery of deleted files. Then extraction of password protected, encrypted and complex data. Because extraction means recovering the data, extracting the data. Okay. So again, extraction is a step, comes under the logical extraction. And after that, extraction of file stack and unallocated space. So this is about the logical extraction. Okay. What we have seen, our fourth process, evidence examination. Okay, so evidence examinations has some different steps. Step one is preparation, step two is extraction. So physical extraction and logical extraction are two types of this extraction. Now next step, that is analysis. Now analysis is the process of interpreting the extracted data to determine their significance to the case. Analysis means interpretation of data to determine the significance to the case. So various analytical methods exist, which includes time frame, data hiding, application and file, ownership and possession. So these are the different examples of analysis step. So first one is time frame analysis. Now time frame analysis is useful in determining a sequence of events on digital system, which can be used as a part of associating uses of the computer to an individual at the time the event occurs. So in short, time frame analysis means sequence of events on digital system. It means that it involves your date and timestamps. Now timestamp means timestamp shows the last time that file was accessed. It shows the last access time of your files. That means it shows the sequence of events on digital system. Okay. Now there are two methods. There are two principles used in time frame analysis. First one is examining the time and date stamps contained in the file system metadata. Okay, so it examines the time and date stamps, and that means it examines the time and date last time the file, when last time we access that file, to link files of interest to the time frame relevant to the investigation. And the second principle is that reviewing system and application logs that may be present, for example, error log, installation logs, connection logs, security logs, etc. Because this all log file shows date and time. Okay, so these are the two principles used under time frame analysis. Now, this second example of analysis is data hiding. Now, data hiding means data can be concealed on a computer system. So, data hiding analysis can be useful in detecting and recovering such data which is concealed on a computer system or which is hide on your computer system and may indicate knowledge, ownership, or intent. Okay, so I think you are very well aware with the what is data hiding, what is cryptography, what is signography. Okay. Now there are some methods which are used to reveal possible hidden data. So first one is comparing file headers to the corresponding file extensions to identify any mismatch. Here we can use digital signatures and hash code also to compare the data and to compare any mismatches. Okay. Then the second method is steganography. Steganography is used to hide secret message or data within ordinary message or pictures or used to hide message inside music, inside videos, audios, types of file formats. Okay, and the third method is gaining access to a host protected area, that means separate password protected area. So these are the methods which are used to reveal hidden data. Then third example of analysis is application and file analysis. So many programs used by the owner and files created by them can provide insight into the capability both of the system and the knowledge of the user. So result of this analysis may indicate additional steps that need to be taken in the extraction and analysis process. Now these steps include reviewing file names for the relevance, naming conventions and patterns. Okay, now there are some naming conventions also. Then identify the number and types of operating system, examining the user's default storage location for applications. Default storage location for applications means what? Sometimes when you are going to download some files from the internet, it open a window. Which shows your default storage location. Sometimes it is your desktop, okay, or sometimes it shows local disk C, that means your C drive. So during this application and file analysis process, we have to examine the user's default storage location for the applications and the file structure of drive to determine if files have been stored in their default or an alternate location. Then third is looking at the file contents, then examining user configuration settings, correlating the files to the installed applications to discover whether they are missing applications or applications without files. And the last one is that reviewing relationship between files. For example, correlating internet history to cache files and email files to email attachment. We have to review the relationship between these files. That means your internet history, your cookies, your cache files, and your email files and your email attachment also. Okay, so these are the examples which are comes under the application and file analysis. Then the fourth example of analysis step is the ownership and possession. So ownership means what? In most cases, it is essential to identify the individual who created, modified or accessed a file. That means here we have to identify the user who created a file, who modified a file and who has access to that file. So it also important to establish ownership and that they knew they possess the question data. The other methods of analysis can help to establish knowledgeable possession, and the other evidence in such case may be gained from fixing the subject at a computer and particular time and dates discovered from time frame analysis can help to establish ownership. File names and naming conventions discovered in application and file analysis may be of value. So the file names and naming conventions that we have discovered in application and file analysis may also be valuable during this ownership and possession investigation. So if application and file analysis shows files are stored in a user created folder rather than default folder, can indicate planned action. Okay, now here what we have discussed. So we have to examine user default storage location for the application and file structure. Okay, to determine whether that files are be stored in their default or an alternate location. So if they are stored on default, then it is natural process. But if they are stored on some create in user created folder, it means that it is a planned action by your opponent, by your attacker. Then third one is the fourth point is that hidden data revealed in hidden data analysis can indicate deliberate attempts to avoid detection and conceal activity. Okay, now we have seen data hiding here. If your data is hide and if your hidden data is recovered, is revealed during data analysis phase, it means it indicates that someone attempt to conceal your data, someone attempts to tamper with your data. Okay, that means your data is at a risk. Then third one, the next point is that password discovered in hidden data analysis to access to encrypted or password protected files may show possession or ownership. And finally, the contents of files from application and file analysis can indicate ownership if they refer to specific users. So this is about the ownership and possession. Okay, now here we are discussing about the step 4, that is analysis. Now time frame analysis, data hiding analysis, application and file, ownership and possession. These four are the types of this analysis process. And now this step 4 is conclusion. Now conclusions are a summary of what findings tell in response to the initial inquiry. That means did whoever do whatever is alleged. So a single piece of evidence from one source will probably be insufficient to reach a definite conclusion. By using single piece of evidence, we cannot reach to a definite conclusion. So conclusions have to be based on all evidence which we have found during the complete round of criminal scene, including association between each part of the evidence. And the last step is documentation and the reporting. So the principle behind documentation and reporting is that the investigator must document completely and accurately their each step in their investigation from start to the end. So this is the very important step, that investigator must have to document each and every step during their investigation in detail from start to end. So the aim is to allow others following the step online in the documentation to reproduce the investigation and reach the same conclusion. Now, what is the benefit of this documentation and reporting? Because in the first step, that is procedure, um, we have discussed about during investigation process, investigators have to follow same steps and procedures, and they have to reach to the same conclusion and findings at the end. Okay, or they have to follow the same rules of digital investigation. Okay, so this documentation and reporting helps them to follow the steps online outlined in the documentation, okay, to reproduce their investigation and reach to the same conclusion. So this is about the forensic process. Okay, so let's summarize it. First process is policy and procedure development. Second one is evidence assessment. After that, evidence acquisition, evidence examination. Inside evidence examination, we have discussed extraction and analysis. Okay, then now this extraction and analysis. Extraction is again categorized into two parts, that is physical extraction and logical extraction. Then next one is analysis, which is again categorized into four parts, that is time frame, data hiding, application and file, ownership and possession. And now the step 4 is conclusion, and step 5 is the documentation and reporting of the complete digital forensic investigation process.